Hey, how productive are you? Do you feel like you're getting stuff done, or do you feel like every day you fall further and further behind? This is a common complaint I hear from my clients. We're overwhelmed, we're stressed out, and we need some concrete steps we can take to get our energy flowing and get ahead of this never-ending to-do list. Today's video is 4 reasons why you aren't being productive, and they're probably not what you think they are. When it comes to life, there's always something more productive we should be doing. We know this. We obviously push ourselves, and we never seem to get everything done. Social media pushes us to do more, to show up more, to plan more, to experience more. Why aren't you having breathtaking adventures? Why aren't you planning parties? Why aren't you celebrating milestones? Why aren't you out there living life? In reality, we're overloaded, we're stressed, we're overwhelmed, and nothing really seems to be happening. Some days especially, you may find it difficult to get anything done. If your normal rhythm seems to be off, you know how difficult it can be to just clear your to-do list. And the thing is, if we stay in this overwhelmed state, it can manifest into physical symptoms such as dizziness, headaches, and possibly even worse. All of this together makes it even more difficult to focus and more difficult to get shit done. You might also be feeling overwhelmed or just plain burnt out, as most people are. So instead of giving up and watching Netflix for the next few hours, it can be helpful to check in with your body. When you do this intentionally and really check in with yourself, you may be surprised to find out that there's really some simple steps you can do to get back in balance and get shit done. So I thought I would share 4 things that can disrupt your natural energy flow and keep you from being productive in this video. Number 1, you're actually exhausted. There are many things that can cause us to feel exhausted besides lack of sleep, although that's probably the number 1. Emotional stress, illness, chronic pain, and other problems can deplete your energy. So we know this. We know that if we don't eat right, if we don't get enough sleep, if we push ourselves too hard, we're going to pay for it. But we end up being detached from our bodies and detached from actually our lives because we get such a narrow focus on what needs to be done or what we think needs to be done that we don't even realize we're operating day to day, month to month, year to year in a state of exhaustion. So of course you're going to fall ill when a bug comes along, or you're going to experience lots of allergies or sinus problems. You're going to be irritable, and you're going to feel like you're not measuring up with other people because you're overwhelmed and exhausted. The best way to tackle exhaustion is to practice self-care and look at your life and ask yourself what you really need right now. And this could be something as simple as a day off. You might need a sitter to help watch your kids, or you might need to lessen your overall stress levels. This could relate to letting go of stressful situations, stepping back from a friend or coworker's drama, or removing projects that aren't a good fit for your talents. Don't hesitate to give yourself what you need. And I know when you're already feeling behind, taking a day off can feel really selfish or absolutely the worst possible thing you could do, but it's not. As cliche as it sounds, self-care isn't being selfish. But for some reason, we like to label it that way. We like to think that we are indestructible and that we can just push through. And if we can't push through this, obviously it's something wrong with us. If we look at self-care as preventative maintenance, just as you would with your automobile, it really makes more sense for us to take time before we get stressed, before we get exhausted, before we get overwhelmed, to build in time in our schedule to relax, to have time to play, to have adventures, or just sleep and eat right. These things sound so simple, but they're usually the first things we cut when we get busy. We stop taking care of ourselves because we classify it as not important, but it's really so important. Just as you would check the oil before there was an issue with your automobile, it's the same thing with stepping back to rest and recharge your body. If you struggle with self-care, I have some programs that can help. I'll put some links in the description box below. If you take good care of yourself, you'll find it's much easier to get stuff done and you'll no longer feel overwhelmed. Another reason you could be struggling to be productive is you're hungry. It's important that you take time to check in with your mind and body a few times each day. When you do this regularly, you'll start to understand understand your body's rhythm and be able to plan around that. A lot of times we think we're hungry when we're actually thirsty and dehydrated. So that's a confusing signal, as well as maybe not understanding whether we're eating because we're used to following a schedule, such as maybe eating at 7 o'clock, at noon, and at 6, or whether we're ignoring our hunger because we think we need to push through. When you're hungry, it's hard to think things through and make decisions. This is making things more difficult by being hungry. This is another reason why it's so important to continuously nourish your body with healthy foods. You wouldn't set out on that road trip with an empty gas tank, right? So why do you expect your body to perform at its very best when you're denying it what it needs? You can easily remedy the situation by getting something to eat. But of course, steer clear of sugary snacks and steer clear of caffeine or any type of energy drink. They may temporarily give you a big burst of energy, but we know the side effects from all of these types of sugary drinks come with a price. You're going to have an energy crash, and instead of feeling more productive, you're probably going to feel worse. Opt for healthier snacks that contain plenty of protein, like a handful of nuts or a serving of beans, something that you can whip up quickly or something that you can prepare in batches. And eating healthy is not as difficult as it sounds. And if you want help with that, let me know. Another reason you're probably not getting things done is your thoughts are too scattered. You can't go to work on a project when you're distracted by another one, or another one, or another one. If you are struggling with staying focused, it can be really difficult to get anything started because before you know it, you're checking your email and you're falling down the social media rabbit hole. You've got 12, 15, 20, 30 different windows open on your computer, and then it's time to take a break and eat lunch, and then you don't feel like doing anything because you had something sugary, and guess what? You're watching Netflix again. And this happens because we lack focus. You have so many ideas, you have so many tasks that you don't know where to start. It seems like you're overwhelmed before you begin, so kind of what's the point? In this case, it's best to pause and do a brain dump, then make a list of what you need to focus on. Now, why do we do the brain dump? And a brain dump is actually just writing down everything that's circling your brain on a piece of paper. It's not about writing it neatly, it's not about grammar, it's not about spelling, it's about just getting the stuff out of your head and onto the paper. So why is this important? When we do a brain dump, we can see what's really going on. Are we making a to-do list in our mind that's overwhelming, or are we worrying about things interwoven into this to-do list? Are we so scattered that we have 100 different things flying through our mind? Well, if we do, then obviously we don't have any focus. Who could focus with all that going on? So we write it down and then we start looking. What are we really thinking about? Are we worried about being able to turn in a project at work? Are we worried about the tools for the project? Are we worried about the timeline? Are we spending all this time worrying that we're not actually beginning the project? And when you see that on paper, it's really easy to go, okay, yeah, all of this is worry. What I need to do is begin the project. Yeah, it really is that easy once we get clear and get focused on what needs to be done and what is just worry or distraction. Once you do have an idea of what needs to be done, such as, finishing that report or working on that project, you can then break the tasks down by steps and write down everything that you need to accomplish this week. Then prioritize all the things you need to do with a number system, which is really important. And then once you prioritize your list of things to do, you can start checking them off. And then before you know it, you've started accomplishing things every day. The other thing I like to do with my clients is when you start prioritizing things and numbering them, don't go crazy, which we're going to talk about being overwhelmed in a minute and not being realistic with the list. But don't go crazy about what you're trying to accomplish every day. Give yourself also a small reward for, let's say, getting 3 things done. It could be going out and getting coffee with friends, or it could be going for a walk in a park, or visiting a museum or a cafe that you've been wanting to go to. Do something as a reward, which will also be a form of self-care. All of this, though, takes us to number 4. Are we being realistic with our time? Is your to-do list actually a mile long? And trust me, I struggle with this one as well. I don't know, sometimes it seems like we forget that we can't accomplish everything. And if you're trying to do too much, it could be a big part of the problem. You could be overestimating your capabilities, or you could be underestimating the amount of energy it takes to get stuff done. For instance, if you're working on a report, is it something that you have all the information already and you're just pulling it together into a spreadsheet? Okay, what's a reasonable amount of time? Or could it be where you need to contact people and they have to send you information? And so not everything is in your control. It's not as easy as just collating numbers. It's sending emails, it's waiting for replies, it's checking facts. You can see where this would take a lot longer, but are you being realistic when you're looking at this project? Overloading ourselves also is a recipe for failure, or at least not producing our best work. Rather than self-sabotage yourself, pick 3 important tasks only each day. And once they're completed, as I said, give yourself a mini reward. At the end of the week, you should see a definite shift in productivity, and you should definitely feel better overall because you are getting shit done. You are moving forward and you are taking back your power, and instead of sitting there and worrying about things, you're actually doing concrete work, and you'll have the satisfaction of a productive week. And I do have some homework for you to really put these steps into place. We need to get clear on what's really going on. So pull out that journal and ask yourself these questions. When you struggle to get things done, what's the usual cause? Is it that you've volunteered to do too much? Is it that you've overestimated your capabilities? Is it that you're hungry or tired? And be honest with yourself and write down the answer. Number 2, how often do you pause to listen to your body's needs? And let's be honest, is this something you do every morning, twice a day, once a week, maybe never? Yeah. So, okay, be honest about that. And number 3, how can you take care of your body and give it what it needs? So often we put our own needs on the back burner that we don't even really acknowledge the fact that we have needs. So this is a good place to start. How can you take better care of yourself? And if you do need help building a realistic self-care program, I'm here for you. Okay, so I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for subscribing and being part of the community here. Stay tuned for the next video. Reiki Blessings. Bye-bye.